Welcome back, everyone. You have made it to the final session of the day. And this is, if you happen to ever come hang out with us at the State Library, this is when everyone gets just a little loopy, a little slap happy. So we were kind of goofing off a little bit between sessions. But I'm really glad that you stuck around. The fine folks that work with the Ohio Digital Network have really worked hard over the past year since we last met. And we have obviously some awesome projects that we want to highlight and continue to highlight, as you've heard from some of them today. And you're going to get a teaser of maybe some small things of what's to come going forward. Each of us are going to have a portion of the presentation to speak to, and I do think there's a little bit of time for Q&A depending on how verbose we get. And I will wrap things back up at the beginning or at the end. But Jen, I think you are kicking things off at the beginning. Am I right?
Yes, and speaking
Okay.
of verbose, I will try to avoid that also because we do want to leave time for all the other great updates. So thanks, Evan, for the introduction, and thank you so much to the contributors, everybody who is working on digital collections and contributing those to DPLA or working towards that goal. All of the work that we do is supported by IMLS and the LSTA funding and grants that we are able to utilize, and then also re-grant to contributors of DPLA as well. So we're really grateful for that. Just a quick review of some of the projects that we've been working on this year since our last ODNFest. Not technically the calendar year, I guess we can call it the ODN year. We've been hosting a couple of coffee chats, which we are looking forward to continuing, obviously, in 2023 with the heavy solicitation of ideas in the chats and the groups today. We've launched our pilot project of the Library Juice Academy Digital Curation Certificate Cohort. We were really pleased at the response to that, very overwhelmed and pleased. And so far the program is going swimmingly. So we are hoping to be able to expand that or offer it again, or maybe have offshoots in other programs in the future based on the feedback from the cohort that we're working with right now. Of course, as you've seen, we've been able to continue those metadata mini grants. We do love that project, and we do love hearing, especially from the folks who are able to participate and the varied experiences that they have in the collections that they work with. We have been continuing our work to contribute content, your content, to the Wikimedia Commons, Wikimedia Foundation projects, and also continuing our outreach as well. So looking back over usage analytics, collection statistics, all those math kind of issues and topics in the past, what did we call it, the ODN year, since October of 2021, we have been able to add 5 brand new contributors, some of whom you heard from earlier today. We're always thrilled to be able to do that. But with the total amount of contributors that we have since October of 2021, we've actually been able to add over 88,000 items to DPLA, 88,480 items. In that time span, we've also had 10,274 individual items viewed on DPLA item pages. And we've had 11,103 click-throughs. And what that is, defined as when somebody is using the DPLA site and they see that little thumbnail, like Larry shared that earlier, that thumbnail of the interview tape, kind of on like the TV set. Somebody would click on that and go out to the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library website and collection to be able to see that. That's a click-through. So altogether, that is 21,377 total Ohio events. And you can always find updated statistics and usage information on that URL at the bottom, but it's also just on the ohiodigitalnetwork.org webpage. Our top 10 most used collections are listed here. I'm not going to read the whole list to you, but you can see there's a pretty even split of public libraries and not public libraries. And I was thinking about that a lot when Greg Colati and Michael Hauser from Connecticut were speaking earlier today. And if you're curious, we actually have a split in Ohio Digital Network of 16 public libraries and 16 academic libraries, and then a handful of historical societies and what we would say like other cultural heritage institutions. And there's a good mix of those here. And some of them you may recognize from last year. And we have our countdown of our top 10 most used items in DPLA. With those, 21,000 total usage of items in DPLA. Obviously, it's a pretty wide span of items that we have that we contribute to DPLA. And most of the items, most of the content is something that's used a couple of times. But there are a couple of images and files, digital files, resources that folks keep coming back to time and time again. And so that's what usually comes up in this top 10 for us. So we've got Youngstown Steel and Tube spindles from Ohio History Connection. Love a good factory picture. And we've got the Charles F. Weiler homes from Toledo, Ohio, and that's from Toledo Lucas County Public Library. Flapper style 1920s fashion, Kent State University. If you have not had a chance to visit the Kent State University Fashion Museum, Fashion History, either online or in person, definitely worth a visit. Another factory photo, women welders at the Rodman Public Library. Some questionable safety practices in this image, but we're going to let it slide because, you know, it was a different time. Hopefully everybody's eyes were okay when they went home at the end of the day. We've got an Underground Railroad station from Ohio History Connection. Underground Railroad content continues to be extremely popular, with good reason, obviously. So we tend to see a lot of that in our most used items. The Levi Coffin House, again, Ohio History Connection. Ohio History Connection again with the Underground Railway Tunnel photograph. And an Underground Railroad shelter, this time from Worthington Libraries, coming in at number 3. And next on our podium is not an Underground Railroad photo, a little bit of an outlier this year. This is the photograph of Susan Yvonne Perkins, Miss America, from the City Building, 1 Civic Center Plaza in Middletown in October 1977. Susan Yvonne Perkins was Miss America at one time and actually was from Middletown. So this is a very relevant photo for Middletown history from Midpoint Library System. And top number 1 used item, I believe this is the same item from last year that was the most used item, is the Underground Railroad routes in Ohio map from the Ohio History Connection. So looking forward to 2023, we are going to continue to work on accessibility through the local or micro level at Ohio Digital Network, at ODN, and then also with digital collections in the state. We've actually completed an audit and a review of the ODN website. So if you've been on the site lately and you notice it looks a little bit different, that's because we've been making accessibility upgrades to make it the most accessible that we possibly can, and we're going to continue to work on that. We're going to continue to work on our digitization outreach and some social media plans. We would like to continue and expand our continuing education programming, which things such as Library Juice Academy and coffee chats. And we have some new project support that we're planning on rolling out using projects and programs that have been developed in other places, but tailor making them for needs in Ohio and the Ohio Digital Collection and Cultural Heritage community. The first being an impact assessment tool and program, and that was developed by our colleagues in Europeana. Europeana being European continent's equivalent to DPLA. And then we also have a digital readiness toolkit that we're going to be taking a look at, seeing how we can use it in Ohio. That was developed by Recollection Wisconsin, which is the Wisconsin's DPLA hub. They received some grant money and they did a lot of wide-ranging collaborations and partnerships to develop a soup to nuts sort of plan for determining where you are, where your institution is in the digital collection readiness atmosphere, environment, universe, and working from where you are and giving you a very clear path to get to where you want to be. And that's what we want for everyone in Ohio as well. So speaking of DPLA, we've got a little bit of news and updates from them. You can see that DPLA continues to complete the map, as they call it, in adding content from all 50 states or from organizations in all 50 states in the US. Significant improvements have been made this year. And I know they're continuing to focus on that. DPLA also recently has a new board chair. That would be Felton Thomas from Cleveland Public Library, especially notable to talk about in a session in Ohio Digital Network. The Network Council, which is the representative body of hubs and participants in DPLA, is continuing their work. I actually am currently serving as the vice chair of the Network Council and will be stepping into the chair role this month. So I'm looking forward to that leadership and being able to share any feedback from you all, from contributors, from organizations, from individuals, whatever level it may be. I'm looking for that to shape the work that the Network Council is doing. So please do feel free to share that with me if you think of anything or if you have any questions. They will be continuing their work on the Wikimedia work, which Penelope is going to share with us here in a few minutes, and also working on a digital equity project that they have been developing and working on. They received an $850,000 grant from the Mellon Foundation to complete this work, and they are going to be working with some other partners to implement the work and see if it can be scaled for other organizations as well. Now moving on to Penelope.
Hello again, everyone. At first, to start off, I just wanted to review our collection harvesting process. I believe that last year we were beta testing our new collection form, which I put a link there in the chat, but you can, or not in the chat, on the slides, but you can always email me if you have questions. What we've figured out is that if you submit your information, which just is your name, your institution, what your collection is called, and your harvesting link, then Peter can make this form that you can just fill out and match up your what is in your metadata to what we want to have harvested into DPLA. And we found that this helps streamline the process, and it also helps you see what fields are actually visible in your OAI PMH feed. We know that not everybody digs into their OAI PMH feed every day. Maybe that is your favorite Monday activity, but most of us don't do that, and understandably so. So it helps everybody be on the same page. Just a reminder, new collections can be accepted at any time. I do try to send an email to our current contributors, and if you're the person at your institution that manages all your harvesting and you haven't seen those emails from me, please let me know. We email the person that we have as the metadata contact, but maybe those emails haven't been going through, or I may not have the most updated person and don't know that. So please take a moment and send me an email. But I send those out usually quarterly to let you know when a harvest is coming with DPLA, but we can accept a collection at any time just so that it's ready to go when they harvest our collection. And just a reminder with reharvest. So you've already submitted your collection to DPLA and it's already on the website, and that's great. Yay. However, remember that if you go in and update 50 records and you work on fixing your metadata, maybe there's something that really needs to be repaired, like we talked about this morning, or you delete 50 records because you put them in a different collection. We have no idea. We only know if you let us know. So you need to email me. All you need to say is, I want to update harvest the postcard collection at Ohio University, which is not a real collection, but you tell me your name. I know your name from the email, and then Peter reharvests it and we review it and it goes back in DPLA. Very simple. Again, it can be accepted at any time. You don't have to wait for that quarterly update from me. You can just email me and say, Penelope, it's time to reharvest this collection, and that's what we're here for. So if you have any questions about our process for harvesting, let me know. If you want a refresher, Peter and I would be happy to chat with you, or you can put some questions in the chat. Next slide, please. We wanted to share with you a little update about the Wikimedia project. We have fixed, or not, well, there wasn't anything broken, but we figured out our process with that, and are very excited that we now have 6 contributors with items in Wikimedia. The requirements for Wikimedia is that it must be out of copyright, which is where some of those standardized right statements really come in handy. It has to be one of the not in copyright statements, not in copyright in the US, or it can have a Creative Commons license 0 on it, but there are very few items that should have that because usually Creative Commons licenses need to be put on by the original creator, and we're dealing with historic documents. The other thing is that there must be a IIIF manifest in being able to be pulled from your system. Now, that is automatic in some systems, and Peter is a technology wizard, and he's able to find it in a lot of them, like Content DM. It kind of depends on the file type, and some of the Content DMs, it says that there's a IIIF manifest and it's really not there, so we're working those out. But most of the time we are able to pull a IIIF manifest and send it with them, with your records to DPLA, and then they you have to let us know obviously that you want to do this, and then they upload it to Wikimedia as part of the harvesting process. And this is just another great way that your items can appear in things like Wikimedia articles or can be shared for reuse. So that's a really good way for, as many things are now coming out of copyright, to be reused. Again, just contact me if interested. It looks like Emily dropped a question in the chat. So if we, yes, you still need to let me know, Emily, if you are an Ohio Memory partner. This is a really good question. you are generally the main contact for your collection. So if you are at an institution that contributes through Columbus Metro and your Things Live in Ohio Memory or the Ohio History Connection, Angela and Jen don't usually let me know if your collections have been updated. That's on you to be like, to tell me that your collections need to be updated, and we're happy to do it, especially if we already have them through our harvesting process. It's very easy. Next slide, please. And the last thing about Wikimedia and DPLA is that they have started a Wikimedia working group. I went ahead and put their mission statement in the chat. What they're trying to look at is how to support this Wikimedia work. If you research a little bit about Wikimedia editing, you might learn and be unfortunately surprised that there are some rogue editors out there, and there's some different things that make it difficult for some people in editing, or just also how to do the work well as libraries. And so DPLA is working on helping the member network know best how to edit and how to do it well. And the next slide, we have a list of all the new working group members. That includes Dominic Bird McDevitt, which is our DPLA contact for Wikimedia, and he's been really excellent. And if your items end up in Wikimedia through that process I just talked about, he will have a personalized Wikimedia editing training with your library if you're interested. And then I wanted to also call out Greta Suter from our own Ohio University Libraries, and the Ohio Digital Network is a part of this working group. And I believe that Evan is up next. Is that all? Oh, no, I forgot the metadata mini grant. So the metadata mini grant round 3 has been awarded. We have 5 people that are 5 universities or 5 institutions that got it. Lorraine, highlighted in red, is our one new institution, and we're excited to have 4 returning Ohio University and Wilmington College and Bowling Green will be all new recipients of the grant, but they are already in DPLA, so it'll be another opportunity for them to expand their collections. Much like CML and some of our past contributors, we've noticed that one of the barriers is you get your collections in and then you still don't have that magical staff time to add items to DPLA or to clean up your collections and add right statements or whatever it is that project you need to do to make your metadata ready for DPLA. So we're really excited that these 5 institutions get to be a part of this round. And now it is Evan's turn.
Thank you, Penelope. I recognize I'm the last thing standing between you and perhaps the end of your workday, so I'll keep some of my comments brief. You've heard this mentioned several times, but without the support of the Institute of Museum and Library Services at the federal level, through the LSTA, Library Services and Technology Act funds that the State Library of Ohio provides, we would not be able to provide some of this programming that you're taking part in, some of the education that we've done, and certainly this initiative as a whole. And so I want to take just a few minutes to reemphasize to this group that we are still committed at the State Library of Ohio to committing some of the federal funds that we have always done going forward. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Next slide, please. So a couple of different ways you've heard us mention already that we provide federal funds in support of our metadata mini grant initiative. So excited to hear from the lightning talk folks today. You know, at least from my position, I don't always get to see what happens after the grant funds are doled out. It's really, really encouraging and really heartening to hear how they're used, the really interesting collections that got the metadata work or remediation or whatever it was that actually needed to be done on the back end to make them harvestable. And so I'm really grateful to get a little sneak peek behind the curtains today. And as Penelope just teased, we are delighted to have 5 new awardees. And while we don't technically have a metadata mini grant 4 scheduled, I would strongly suspect that we will be launching a 4th round of the metadata mini grants going forward. So keep your eyes peeled for something along those lines. Jen mentioned this already, but a really cool new initiative that we are delighted to support with federal funds is this pilot program based around Library Juice Academy's digital certificate program. We've had 15 attendees that are, or 15 participants that are going to go through this together as kind of a semi-formed cohort. And at least from where I'm sitting, I'm kind of viewing this as a real opportunity to expand similar type services, not only to ODN, but some of the other programs that the State Library offers. And so I'm really excited to see where we go with this and how our partnership grows with Library Juice Academy. And finally, and probably where I'll spend the bulk of my remaining 2 minutes, just to let the folks in this room know, every 5 years, every state library around the country and U.S. territories has to go through a 5-year plan evaluation where an external consultant is brought in to see how we did under our previous 5-year plan. For us, that was the years 2018 through 2022. They provide an evaluation. They do a ton of focus groups. They send out surveys. They get numeric data. They get story data. They weave it all together and they let us know how we did. Did we hit our goals? Did we partially hit them? Do we have room for improvement? And I am just delighted to say that we passed our evaluation with all meets or partially meets our goals. And a couple of our partially meets were just basically due to the pandemic, which most state libraries experienced. And then June 30th, the end of June, we submitted our final draft of our new 2023 to 2027 LSTA 5-year plan to IMLS. They have to sign off on it. And we did find out just a little over a month ago that our 5-year plan has been approved. So keeping in mind that this is federal fiscal year, so the 2023 plan does not actually start until October 1st of 2023. But I'm delighted to tell this group that all of the work that we've done to support digitization and preservation was highlighted by the Ohio library community. So, it was either you folks or your contemporaries or your staff, your boards were singing the praises of the work that we've done. And that enshrines it then in our 2023 to 2027 plan. So long story short, our commitment continues. And I can't thank all of you enough for being a part of that evaluation process. I know there are so many surveys out there on every listserv. And so if you took even 3 minutes to fill out a survey that contributed to the development of our new 5-year plan, I'm eternally grateful. So we are down to the last 5 minutes and I have the wonderful task of kind of wrapping things up today. I don't want to quash any questions. If you have some last minute questions, you can drop them in the chat. Full disclosure, we might not get to them before we wrap up at 4, but I'll take the time to reach out to you after we shut things down today. But there are just so many folks that I need to take a moment to thank. And I have to start with all of you that are a part of this program today. I cannot emphasize enough how much all of us at ODN appreciate the work that you do on your digital collections, because, without you, there is no ODN, there's no Ohio content in DPLA, and then what are we doing? So thank you so much for your commitment to this program. Thank you to perhaps the best team, Jen Johnson, Penelope Shoemaker, Peter, who's over in IT, but I will adopt him for ODN reasons. I'm so grateful for all of the hard work you put into putting this event together. And I don't know about you folks in attendance, but I was just really blown away by our slate of speakers. Special thank you to keynote speaker Dr. Trevor Owens, Greg Colati and Michael Hauser, Marilee Prophet, thank you for joining us, even though OCLC's in Dublin, joining us on the West Coast. All of the wonderful folks sharing what you've done at your local institutions through the Metadata Mini Grant, Stephanie Bricking, Larry Richmond, Angela O'Neill, Anna Marie Close, Dr. Jody Kearns, thank you for making time today to be a part of this event. Just like anything that has some federal support, we need you to fill out your evaluation. Jen or Penelope, would one of you drop the evaluation in the chat? We will reach back out to you, send this out to you after the event, just as a reminder. This data is so crucial so that we can, again, prove that this is something that Ohio Library folks value and that we want to continue to support. So Jen, Penelope, is there anything else that you would like me to emphasize or you want to share?
Just one last call out for our coffee chats that will be active and will be editable. Just don't delete everything. That's valuable information. But if you have a late night thought of what you want to talk about with your colleagues, go ahead and put that in there and we'll use that still.
How I forgot that after having 3 cups of coffee today. have no idea, but I did forget that. Thank you. Jen, anything from you?
No, I think I just want to echo Evan's thanks to everybody, and it was really great to spend the day discussing this, and I'm looking forward to all the work that's coming ahead in the next ODN calendar year.
Yes. One more calendar year to keep track of. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon.